Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in to this 1 hour webinar on Windows 365. And we are going to learn a lot about Windows 365 for Enterprise today and how it can help your company implement the hybrid working scenarios and many other use cases within Windows 365. Let's just get started. So this webinar would last for about 1 hour. We have my colleague, Dietmar Zils, who is an expert into anything Azure infrastructure and security. He would be delivering this content today with us. And before we jump into the actual content, I have one quick favor to ask you because I'm planning my next vacation. I thought I'll take this chance and ask all of you guys, what is your favorite vacation destination? Do you guys mind using the comment from wherever you're using, either YouTube or LinkedIn? In the comment section, can you just type in what's your favorite vacation destination? And that would be really useful for me. Give me some ideas. Give me some ideas, guys, please. Let's take 30 seconds if you guys can pop in your favorite vacation destination. Do we have any takers? Any suggestions? Switzerland, Turkey. Sounds great. Excellent. Let's get back to the webinar. Thank you very much for those things. So before we actually jump into the webinar, I wanted to take a moment and introduce ourselves, the Cluster Reply and the Reply Group. So Reply Group is an international group of companies. We provide consulting, system integration services, digital computing services to many of our clients. Many of our clients who are listed on this page, you might know some of these brands. We are worldwide in 10 different countries. We are a group of more than 100 companies within the Reply Group. And some of these companies, we provide very expert services by these individual companies, and we, being Cluster Reply, we are the Azure experts within the Reply group of companies. We provide Azure infrastructure services, integration services, application development, and many cloud managed services. And many of our colleagues within different Reply companies they provide across the range of different technologies and business domains. We are about 10,000 people across the 38 offices all over the world. So that's about the Cluster Reply and Reply Group. And now let's quickly look into the agenda of today. Very briefly, we'll introduce the speaker, Dietmar, and the topic of today, and then we'll look the overview and benefits of Windows 365 for enterprise. And then the end user experience would be covered very briefly, and then we'll also look into how to manage and maintain Windows 365 for enterprise, because that is one of the most important factor that the IT organizations would consider. The very important next important question is the security. So we would also cover how does Windows 365 for enterprise provide the end-to-end security for companies. And then we would also quickly look into the cost and licensing factors. And by that time, you should have a pretty fair idea of this new offering of Windows 365 Cloud PC by Microsoft. Once we've done that, we would quickly go over some of the next steps that you can take if you're interested into learning more about this product. And then we'll have some time at the end for Q&A. So throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, please make a note of them so that we can review those questions and try and help you. At the end, we'll have a good 15-minute session for Q&A. So without any further ado, let me introduce Dietmar Zils. He's my colleague, and he's an expert into Azure infrastructure and security. And today he would be giving us the very high level overview of how you can implement Windows 365 for your enterprise, how it can benefit to your company in many different ways. So welcome, Dietmar, and over to you.
Apologies. There was some sound problems. I'm just reverting back. I do apologize that you might not have heard me. Just quickly bringing back to the introduction slide. First of all, thank you, Mario, very much for the icebreaker of the holiday destinations. I think people have put in an amazing list there of holiday destinations, and we'll get back to that a bit later down the presentation. Yeah, so what is Windows 365? And what is the cloud PC? So here we've obviously got the hybrid workforce as the main new development. But where are we coming from? We're coming from physical desktops and laptops, which we started to virtualize using RDS or Citrix in a virtual environment, generally just for specific applications that were, for various reasons, unusable directly. The cloud version of this was Azure Virtual Desktop, which was introduced a few years ago now and been well established in many organizations. But for some, that is still a new tooling. And we call it as the infrastructure as a service for VDIs. And then now we've got Windows 365, the strategic latest strategic deployment from Microsoft. So let's just look a little bit at where we're coming from in a bit more detail. So here we've got the local environment, the infrastructure, where we have to manage everything. Physical data center, network, hosts, the control plane, all these different elements. Then this was the latest advancements, really, bringing in Citrix, joining it into the cloud, eliminating some of the infrastructure with virtualized machines, making it easier to manage. But there is still a lot of cost, is still of overhead. As everyone has ever deployed Citrix NetScaler knows what I'm talking about. Azure Virtual Desktop eliminated this virtualization control plane, which is only like one small part here in the slide, but actually it's quite a big part to manage and to control, and quite a few servers that need to be deployed. And then obviously, because a lot of these solutions were security focused, there's a lot of firewalling and a lot of red tape around actually getting these deployed in most enterprises. So here, Azure Virtual Desktop has really brought a massive improvement in terms of actually deploying these things quite rapidly. And then it's getting more and more white on Windows 365. Windows 365 almost all the way, what we really only need to do anymore is just getting end users licensed to the cloud device. For us as enterprise experts, we obviously have to do a little bit more around that, because these devices will still have to interact with the enterprise. But for smaller companies, this is it. They will just stay in the blue part. I think for us, most of you are visiting it probably from an enterprise perspective. We will have to look at security, operating systems, and especially the network controls as well. But nonetheless, there's a large amount of elements eliminated, especially here in terms of optimizations and user auto-servicing, which is actually a new feature that's introduced with Windows 365 that is unique and is not actually, as you can see, it's completely blank here, doesn't exist on the previous VDI environments, which is why Microsoft really calls it as a cloud PC, and Microsoft is not actually even using the word VDI for Windows 365. So we just think of it as a cloud PC. Okay, so just think of our cloud PC. So we've got here, obviously, the picture of a laptop. That's how most people accessing the cloud PC. We'll find out there's more different types of devices, but our cloud PC is sitting in the cloud and interacting directly with our Azure Active Directory identity. That's your end users, where we can manage the user. And most importantly, your Microsoft 365 apps. And I think one of the points where we find it most useful and the biggest use case and the biggest problem solver here is the physical PC interacting with the Microsoft 365 apps, particularly the files. So one of the apps obviously is OneDrive. So you've got all your files in the cloud, but your PC is local. And what happened to us is we started synchronizing. So we're synchronizing gigabytes of data, and that takes a lot of time. And depending on network bandwidth, that can be problematic. And there's a problem in terms of files, etc., getting out of sync. In my point of view, that is certainly resolved with the cloud PC, because it's directly connected with a high bandwidth with the cloud apps. So your computing and your data is at the same spot. So even with a little bit less computing, you can work extremely well. And that's one of the major selling points here on the Microsoft end. And also Microsoft is obviously controlling and manages with Defender. Again, we've got here the simple cloud view that we've also got for our server infrastructure for the PCs, where we can see exactly the security status of the PC, what's going in, what's going out of the PC. And last but not least, we can, with Endpoint Manager, control all the updates, all the software on the PCs automatically down to a user group level from a central management point of view. So yes, so it's a dream come true in many ways from a management perspective. You're bringing everything together, everything holding nicely and seamlessly together in this beautiful slide. I think that represents very well the benefits nice and neatly. So where come we in as a consultancy is the cloud PC still needs to be connected. So this slide depicts here a very easy way of connecting the cloud PC. We've got Active Directory here, and the cloud PC, it's a Microsoft network. You just drop it in, the cloud PC is running. So this is something that new organizations would be faced with. Most enterprises is not quite as easy for those. So they would, most enterprises, they would want to at least, as a minimum, connect their own existing networks already, and also then connect to the cloud PCs. So this is something where we could obviously help as Reply to to build this connection and to connect the cloud PC both with Active Directory, but most importantly, the on-premises part. And then connecting to the on-premises part, you might also want to have your specific group policies, etc., that you have for your existing physical PCs and laptops. And that will be the next level step where we actually say, okay, your Active Directory is not just in the cloud. You still got an on-premise Active Directory network. You've got your old legacy way of managing your legacy PCs. You want to manage your cloud PCs in a similar way. You don't want to have it all new or fresh. And this is more the realistic scenario where most enterprises are coming from at the moment. So this will be a slide certainly, to bear in mind about the connection here. So the end user here, quite nicely shown, is just always connecting directly to the cloud PC. The cloud PC then connecting to the network, and this is obviously where the security sits, where the firewalls are there, and where we've got this level of control here of what's going in and out very nicely. So that was a brief technical introduction to Windows 365. Now just look a little bit closer to where we can have different personas, different use cases for early adoption of Windows 365. So what we've seen in the industry is a big push towards getting it ready for temporary workforces. That's onboarding contractors, especially. That's very much in the lights also in the area of mergers and acquisitions, where you want the seamless integration. You start with certain teams within the merger. You want to bring them all together, whilst the Active Directories are getting integrated, federated. Often these days, we still got ADFS. And a newer thing, it's a lot, people talk about it a lot, is bring your own PC. I think we see as technical people, we do have certain preferences. Some people, they like to have a thin laptop with a large screen. Other people work on a tablet. Other want to have a really small laptop. And also people want to do some private communications on their PCs as well. So there it is been a bit of a problem for some organizations in terms also of the data security, which is another big topic. So for example, bringing these two together, you bring your own PC in, you've got your own email on your own PC, you're using a work PC for your own email, you bring in a virus, and then you've got a data security problem. So the cloud PC obviously eliminates that because it completely separates your physical device from the cloud PC, because the cloud PC is essentially just streamed to your computer. So the data actually doesn't arrive at your computer, it actually remains in the cloud. So another big topic is for organizations to have disaster recovery. In the past, some organizations, they had lots and lots of office space ready in terms of a disaster. If people could come to work, they had physical machines ready in terms of a disaster. If people have loss of machines, etc. Here again, as long as we can assure connectivity in a disaster, you can pretty much from every place in the world connect to your cloud PCs, and they themselves are already automatically being managed by Microsoft for disaster recovery, which is obviously one of the features we've seen in a previous slide. So what are actually the biggest savings in terms of Windows 365? So one item is obviously you don't need hardware, so you're saving hardware costs. You can be very specific with hardware, and you're using hardware only when you need them. The system admin cost is, as we mentioned, is reduced. That is something that we're also reducing, obviously, on physical devices through Intune, through managing the cloud PC, but also the provisioning, obviously, from a central point through Active Directory is very easy. And with that, obviously, you can see that signing up a user can be done within hours, and the user can get going. Whereas sometimes I think Microsoft has a beautiful video. You can Google it out there. They've got in Canada in a remote location, they've got schooling where they have to fly in PCs where there's actually not even any roads between the different towns. That's so far remote that it takes 4 weeks in general for a new person to be onboarded, and they went from 4 weeks to 2 hours, really. So the security is a huge part of Windows 365. As you've seen, the PC is in the cloud, the data is in the cloud. We're not moving the data around. Even on your physical laptop at the moment, even if you have your data on OneDrive, you're not syncing it, you would still have a cached copy of the data potentially on your laptop. So with the cloud PC, you're 100% secure. We can obviously see exactly what's going on the cloud PC. The cloud PC, or each cloud PC has a forensics option in it and a reporting option. And we've got many security advancements because of the central management of the PC. We can always make sure it has the latest update, it has the latest images. You don't need to bring a PC back physically to get it re-imaged. Which is obviously a physical job, which people have to actually, which is rarely done in anybody's lifetime. I don't know how many people here in your in the webinar have actually ever had their PC re-imaged as an organization image. That is something we can do quite easily with Windows 365. And first and foremost, actually, this is the biggest point that Microsoft pushes, is sustainability. Microsoft is already carbon neutral. They're going carbon negative, and they're making sure that Windows 365 is sustainable, and you only really need the resources that it needs for the computing. With that, also, we don't have the data duplication. We don't need to copy data across the networks, which also with gigabytes of data transfer also contributes to that. So also what we've seen, sometimes there are issues in actually getting PCs, ordering PCs, having problems with the hardware supply chain. Again, just having your PC in the cloud, you don't have to deal with that physical problem. Having said that, we obviously still have endpoints, and decommissioning is very easy. You just can switch it off. Generally, there is a short period of time where you can say, okay, it's a grace period. We give you a week to sort of make sure everything is off, and then the PC just gets deleted and it's gone. So it's very easy. Whereas obviously, if you have a PC that needs recycled, you need to sort of look at, okay, how am I going to get that recycled? How do I get it offboarded? Or I've got an employee leaving, I need to sort of try to get that employee to give the hardware back, and then also recycle the hardware again. I don't know 100% what I get back for the next employee, etc. It's hours and hours of work dealing with physical hardware. Right, yeah, so that is the main points there. So in terms of the end user experience, how does it actually work? How do I access the cloud PC? So it's very easy. You've got an access. You go to windows365.microsoft.com. You can see a desktop on that. You can reboot it, open it in the browser, or open it from the remote desktop client. So here you would just download it, and I'm going to demo that briefly at the end of the presentation. So the main thing also is what you've seen. It comes from a browser. You can download specific clients that have some more beneficial features, and there are clients available for various devices, for the Android, for the iOS, and for the web. So for example, if your favorite holiday that was a very good destination is Pontins. I personally have done actually a Pontins holiday in Campersands. So that was good fun. And would I really want to take my laptop to Pontins? Probably not. And if I have a work call, I'm quite happy to answer that from my Android phone, get to my files that I might need from my Android phone. It's all there. And I don't need to carry my laptop around. Same thing if you are going to Saudi Arabia in the middle of the desert heat, you might not want to open the laptop up. You might get sand in your keyboard. Again, quickly do it from your phone, answer the things, and you've got everything in Office available through those clients. And if you drop somewhere on the coast of Turkey, if you drop your device into the water, don't worry, the data is all safe in the cloud. Okay, so Windows 365. It's loved by users, trusted by IT. As we said, we're streaming Windows 365 to any device. We're making sure it's always ready and updated. That's managed centrally and through Microsoft. We're obviously controlling some of the settings in the enterprise. And it's exactly like your normal Windows 10, Windows 11 PC. From the IT department, we can manage it quite easily. We know it's resilient. We've got still a PC per user, which is the difference with AVD, where we can have both scenarios, where we can have it per user, or we can have a multi-session where we have multiple users on the same device. In Windows 365, that's always per user, and we've got predictable costs, and it is simply to buy, deploy, and manage. One new feature that Microsoft is introducing this year is a frontline worker licensing package, which has just been announced a few days ago. It might be quite interesting for you if you have, for example, point of sales, or if you've got 24/7 shift workers. They can all share one license. So yes, Windows 365 is always an individual cloud PC, but costing-wise, that might become much more attractive than in that sort of scenario. To onboard the users, as we said, it's very, very easy. It's all done in the cloud. You can go to your Microsoft 365 Admin Center, for example, assign the license, set the license, and off you go. And you can also do that actually through the Azure portal as well. Imaging, again, is something because it happens in the cloud. We can do that much easier than with a physical device. You just provision an image, you choose ideally here a Microsoft image. So here you can see an example of Windows 10. Obviously now you've got Windows 11 images as well available. And you can also use custom images if you wanted to. Personally, I think we are actually, as Reply, we have a very large customer with over 20,000 cloud PCs who is who's been outsourcing their support. So those 20,000 users are support users. And they're coming from over 10 different organizations from over 8 regions in the world. And the choice for that was to choose a standard Windows 10 enterprise image and to go with Intune optimizations. So if you have a large amount of users, like 20,000 users to manage, it is a very easy and straightforward approach to use the standard Microsoft images, Intune it, and then you can roll over the images quite easily. And it's a very proven approach, at least by our engineers in the US. Who've taken this approach. Yeah, and also you can obviously resize the cloud PC, and then as soon as you resize it, you pay a different price. So you can bring in savings immediately. If you find, okay, a user is only using Word and we've given him a PC that's too big, we can quickly just roll it down. Or if we say, okay, user suddenly starting to work on a project where he needs a lot more, using a different software, he needs a lot more power, then we can just upgrade and downgrade that. And then with that, obviously the costs can be managed as needed. Okay, we are infrastructure and security team, obviously here from Cluster Reply. So for us, the security part is the most interesting and the most important. And this is not just what we're doing for Windows 365. So what is the Windows 365 security? It's built on Zero Trust. Now, Zero Trust, we've been drilling our teams in for the last 2-3 years now. It obviously is all about asking questions every step of the way. That's what Zero Trust really is. I think one of the big authors, Rudyard Kipling, has been known to ask questions all the time, and that's he's sort of seen as the originator of the Zero Trust principle. So whatever we're doing, we're checking, we're asking, we're authenticating, and we're making sure that the data is going in. And obviously with the PC in the cloud, the PC would, in our scenario, for example, with the support teams, all the PCs would have an outbound firewall, and all the 20,000 users, we can see exactly where they're going to, and we can also manage where we don't want them to go to. So just really briefly then, the security is really about our patching, because we can actually see and manage fully where the patching goes in and where it doesn't go in. We've got the threat exposure because we've got complete visibility of our endpoints in the cloud. And I think what we've mentioned a lot is because your data is in the cloud, we're not having it on the devices unless we have, obviously, we can have policies that allow downloads or printing or things like that. But that, again, we can control. We can see, okay, when it's been printed, when it's been downloaded. So we've got a clean isolation here of data leakages, and that's why the use case of actually having development teams, programming teams, software development teams using cloud PCs has become a major use case. And that's another feature actually talking about this, data leakage and programmers and developers. Microsoft is actually building in now, releasing it also probably this year, to have Hyper-V and virtual machines on your cloud PC, so that actually developers can even have virtualization within the cloud PC to use it like they would use their physical PC, to have a full environment in the cloud, so that they don't need to work on the physical machines anymore. And this slide is just really briefly just showing the Defender again. We've got the security center. We've got an immediate level of overview of all our devices in the enterprise. Are there any unexpected behaviors, suspicious processes, etc., that gets highlighted, that get flagged, and alerts are being sent immediately if there's something not quite right. So with the cost and licensing, I think that is a very interesting topic, and there's going to be a lot of creativity again in terms of finding ways to do the calculations. We've just sort of said, okay, we're talking a lot about physical devices. Can you actually really save money on physical devices? Well, it gets a difficult topic. Obviously, if you had a high-end laptop that cost $2,400, you would say, okay, we're writing it off in 3 years, it's $800 a year. Then the end user, we are providing the end user with a laptop nonetheless, so we don't do bring your own device. And we're also providing the user with a Windows 365 cloud PC. And then sort of this together adds up to about 672 a year. So yes, there's a potential savings of 128 per user. So if you have got 1,000 users, you're saving 128,000 pounds. So yeah, I think it's certainly something that you would have to think about. If there will be a suitable scenario or not, you have to see. I think for $900 you can already get a good 14, 15-inch laptop. So certainly something, to look into exactly for your individual use cases. Another comparison, you could say, okay, let's just compare personal desktop in AVD with a Windows 365. Now, the personal laptops with AVD, they're also very competitively priced against any other virtualization environment, really. So that's actually a very good and open use case. So generally, you can see the pricing of Windows 365 is very competitive. Even though it has all the extra management function in, and it is a proper SaaS service. So we have to obviously remember that here in this cost, we've already included 3-year reservations, and it's a personal VM that's obviously on this 3-year reservation. So we've done it per 1,000 users to sort of see, okay, if you have 1,000 users, okay, you can save $5,000 per month. So this is monthly pricing. So which boils down to roughly $37 per month per user here and $31 per month per user here. So yeah, so that can add up quite quickly then to $25,000 a month or $300,000 a year. So yeah, so we need to sort of look, okay, do we need AVD personal desktops? If we do need them, then maybe we should also look at Windows 365, because obviously here we also have a lot more management overhead and and other management costs on top of it, which is covered here in the SaaS service. So yeah, Microsoft has been pricing this quite aggressively. In terms of multi-session comparison, it gets a bit harder. Multi-session has been very difficult for us to get very clear costing to the clients. So we need to very, very closely look here at the use cases. Microsoft has got quite a good comprehensive calculator as well, and online, the Azure pricing calculator. And just very simple scenario here, you can see that multi-session can still be slightly a bit more expensive than the Windows 365, but then you also have to see that we've taken here a relatively small Windows 365 PC. And with multi-session, it always depends on the concurrency. So here in this scenario, you obviously have a PC here with a D16. So just to say quickly what a D16 is, it's a server with 16 cores and 64 gigabyte of RAM. So here, if you got one user on it, they get obviously very fast, very quick PC. If you then suddenly have 20 users on it, it's not quite so quick. So multi-session, you have to manage it well, and you have to know what your users are doing on multi-session to get the sizing right. But yeah, you can save money with multi-session against Windows 365. So again, we would have to look very closely there at your use cases. Right, yeah, so I think this was really just bringing us down all around the circle from Windows 365 to just have a little quick look at it. So yeah, so let's just quickly jump in and over to what we can see. So in the Azure portal, oh yeah, I need to actually bring this over this side. So first of all, okay, how do I actually manage a cloud PC? So I've got my user here, Megan Bowen, and I add her to a group, a security group that I need to do, which we just would call Windows 365 Enterprise. And then this user would be assigned a license. So I'm just doing that here in the Azure portal. So that user would have a Microsoft 365 license plus, and that would be assigned additionally, an enterprise license. So in this scenario here, we actually got another one available, so I could assign this user here another license. And then as soon as that is assigned, the user can actually then connect to that license. That can be done over the web browser, or a bit easier about the remote desktop client in Windows, for example. And as we said, we've got clients for different devices like Android and iOS as well. So then to start that PC, you just double click on it, and then you are on your PC. So here we can see Cloud PC Enterprise, 2 vCPU, 8 gigabyte, 256 gigabyte storage, and it's the usual Windows Remote Desktop connector. This works exactly the same way as connecting over RDS or connecting to AVD. Clicking here, we can see, okay, so how good is my connection here? I've got at the moment 11 megaseconds, and I've got a decent connection. Not great, but I can work with it. I can open all my my Office software on it. It just works just exactly like my own PC, and you've got Teams and everything on this PC. So the main benefit obviously is that when you're saving documents, that goes really, really fast, opening and saving documents, and they stay in the cloud. So you can just get out of this PC and go back in again. I'll do that in a second. And everything stays exactly as it was. We just can run a quick speed test here. We are now in the cloud. You can see we are in a London, UK data center in Azure. My ping is beautiful, just over 1 milliseconds. So let's just see. It's always you clicking things in live. That's obviously a live test scenario. Let me just give it another go. And yeah, finally, it sort of, I think it was surprised by the amount of speed that we are getting here on the Cloud PC. So we are getting probably a little bit more than you get over your broadband connection. So yeah, so you can download this. This is Ookla Speed Test. You can download that from the Microsoft Store, and you can just do a quick comparison yourselves. How good the Cloud PC actually is, and seeing that, you know, I mean, I think a lot of our people who have invested a lot of money in their PC, they're still sometimes saying, "Oh, things are slow," and a lot of the times it is because you know, you have to download and upload the data. So we don't have that problem. So even with a 2 CPU Cloud PC, sometimes we can work a bit faster than we can actually work with our 16 core laptop from on-premise. Yeah, so just connecting here, as you can see, it's just like you can just disconnect it like a remote session, and then you just double click again, and then you end up exactly where you were before. So it just takes a second then to connect. So I just double clicked here, and it will be there in a second. And the reason why, I think partially why it's taking so long, is because I'm obviously streaming live, and my my laptop is now streaming out from physical, just because we've got a testing Cloud PC. So next time I'll actually try to stream it directly from a Cloud PC. So yeah, so this is the license assignment. So we've got okay, it's finally there now. Okay, thank you. So yeah, so and then we're ending up exactly at the same spot where we were before. So here we've got the admin center again that we've seen in the slide. So you've got your user here with your Windows 365 license, and you can manage it also here from your Windows admin center. Again, also you've got your devices that you can manage from the admin center. So the user's cloud PC will also come up here in this device. This is our CPC Megan device. And in Endpoint Manager and Intune, this is where you are managing your devices. So you're provisioning them here from Windows 365. So all we need to do is just set up a provisioning policy that is connected to your group. And then as soon as the user's license is there, it will just go straight into the provisioning mechanism here, and it will show up. So if I set a license, it will go into a provisioning status, and then at the moment, it takes about 40 minutes. Your PC is ready. That's how easy it is. You've just got endpoint.microsoft.com and admin.microsoft.com. This is how it's being managed. And this is the cloud PC. Yeah, so I think that's all I've got to show right now for the demo. And I'm just handing back to Mario.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Dietmar, for that great overview of Windows 365. Hopefully, the audience was able to get some values out of it. And let's quickly get some questions in. So we have a couple of questions. The first one is from Ross Mitchell. What happens if you are on a cloud PC and connect to a VPN? Do you lose access to connection, or is there a console session?
When you're on a cloud PC, when you're on a VPN, I think it's just, sorry, I just didn't understand that question fully. I think you're just connecting, it shouldn't make any difference as long as you've got internet connectivity, you connect to the PC. So if your VPN tunnel obviously funnels all the internet through the VPN, then obviously some organizations do that. Some organizations would bypass the VPN where you have internet traffic going sideways. So there's different scenarios, but generally, yes, you're connecting out over the internet to the cloud PC. So it really depends on that connection.
Yeah, I believe what Ross meant was that if you're already logged in on the cloud PC of Windows 365, and can you use VPN on your cloud PC to connect to another network? Is there a scenario like that can arise?
Yeah, I mean, I think some organizations, they might have policies. So you could install a VPN client and then route out to the VPN just as a normal PC, absolutely.
Excellent. Hopefully that answers Ross. If not, please let us know in the comment. We have another question from John Signal. And John asks, does Windows 365 do away with the need to buy hardware devices for workers, or does it just minimize through ability to purchase lower spec machines and or adopt some sort of hybrid model that is shared hardware in offices, in office days with access?
Yeah, I think that's really down to the organization to decide. I think bring your own PC obviously would alleviate the organization from having to buy hardware. So that would be the bring your own PC model would be, okay, we have a deal with the employee to bring their own PC. Maybe they get an allowance, or we just find a different way of doing it. Or you could say, okay, you buy a lower spec PC, for example, in the organization for accessing that basically provides the streaming functionality, or you still use a normal big PC that you normally have and just have the cloud PC for certain functionality. So all these scenarios are possible. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions? We have about 10 minutes left. So if anyone has any questions, please pop them up in the chat section from wherever you're watching us, and Dietmar will try and answer those questions.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no questions, I could quickly just go over the next steps, and then we can go back to the questions, Mario.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, can you see the next steps slide? Fantastic. So what would be your next steps as an organization? So as an organization, as we've seen already in the previous slides, you need to look where are you actually in Azure, because we need to be able to connect it to Active Directory somehow, because that's how the authentication works for Cloud PC. So as a minimum, you would need to have obviously Azure, some sort of M365 licensing, and then, okay, what do we do in terms of the networking? What do you want to do with the cloud PCs? So that will be a matter of sort of looking at, what is my use case in this scenario? And as you've seen, there's lots of different ways of approaching this and starting out with it. A lot of organizations, they started out with, for example, bringing contractors on board, right? Be it because contractors a lot of the times they would have already got their own PCs. They're coming in from external companies, but they would have to obviously interface with the local infrastructure. That's always a very good use case. There is something called a Windows 365 standardized pilot that we could run, and for some organizations there could be funding available for that. And also, I think on offer, we have now the next generation Windows workshop that would go in a little bit more detail into Windows 365 and also how it sits a bit more with the rest of the Microsoft next generation Windows, which is obviously the new features of Windows 11, including autopilot, etc., and the advancements that there are in Azure Virtual Desktop. So yeah, so please, if you're interested, especially in the next gen Windows workshop, we've got the contact address here, digital.cluster.uk@reply.com, and you contact us, and we can look to arrange a workshop with you. Okay, Mario, can I give back to you?
Yeah, one more question. So, is Windows 365 based suited for? Is it suitable for long-term replacement of high-spec hardware-based box, or better for short-term point of need provisioning compute?
Right. So the question was, can I, let me just look at the question here. Suitable for long-term replacement of high-spec hardware-based box. So at the moment, Windows 365 does not have, for example, a GPU. So for CAD or graphics users, video editors, Windows 365 is not designed. For office workers, yes. So and software developers, yes. So software developers, they have relatively high spec boxes. You can replace those. For graphic designers and video editors, maybe not. Maybe AVD will be better. With AVD, we've got more performance optimizations that we can do, and with AVD, we can also have high graphics compute and high performance compute for really high spec. So high spec is a bit of a relative term here. So middle high spec, yes. High spec AVD.
Okay, hopefully that helps. We have another question coming in. How does Microsoft charge? So I believe the question is, what's the charge or the cost model? I'm assuming that's right. Yeah. So is it bandwidth or a fixed charge?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty. That's the beauty of Cloud PC, and that's different again to AVD. That's a good difference. The bandwidth, so fixed charge. We do actually have a fixed charge on Cloud PC, whereas on AVD there are charges on certain bandwidth ingresses, egresses. So yeah, so it's completely predictable. You have that price, and it basically is charged through your agreement with Microsoft, which for most of our clients, there will be an enterprise agreement. with Microsoft, and it would just be automatically coming into your monthly costing as you are licensing them.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, we have one more question. I'm amazed with the cloud business network speed. Will that speed be constant for all the users or varies depending on number of users assigned to the license? Really good question. Yes.
Well, I think generally it would be the same for each user because that's the connectivity in Azure. So there would be very little difference to what we've seen today. It depends, obviously, occasionally, but you would always have more or around a gig, let's put it this way. So I think just seeing 6 gig upload speed is obviously, yeah, it's quite good.
With the same question, I have a follow-up question, Dietmar. Can we host applications, or is it advisable to host applications on the cloud PC? For example, I'm running a small website. Should I, rather than hiring a server, should I just host it on a cloud PC because it already has great bandwidth? So does it make a good case as well, or it's not advisable to host applications on cloud PCs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just using, it's really just designed for personal use. You could just spin up a server in Azure better with this proper server operating system and manage it that way. So you can be creative, but it's not the official use case.
Okay. All right. So unless there are any more questions, I think we can come to the conclusion of the workshop. Let me quickly ask last favor before we close.